The Viking slave sacrifice was more chilling than you can imagine. Prologue. Whispers in the wind. In the mist-shrouded fjords of ninth-century Scandinavia, where the wind carried tales of valor and vengeance, a shadow loomed over the Norse world, a shadow cast by the blood eagle. This was no mere execution. It was a ritual that wove together justice, sacrifice, and terror. Its name whispered in dread by warriors and poets alike. To speak of the blood eagle was to conjure images of flayed ribs and crimson-stained altars, a spectacle that marked the Viking Age as both brutal and profound. Yet beneath its horror lay a deeper truth. The blood eagle was a mirror reflecting the Vikings' unyielding code of honor, their reverence for the gods, and their mastery of fear as a weapon. This is the story of the blood eagle, not just its grisly mechanics, but its place in a world where loyalty was life, and betrayal was a fate worse than death. The Viking world, a tapestry of honor and blood. The Viking Age, spanning the 8th to 11th centuries, was a time of relentless ambition. Norse raiders, traders, and settlers carved paths from the icy shores of Scandinavia to the sunlit markets of Constantinople. Their longships sliced through waves, carrying warriors whose names would echo in sagas: Ragnar Lothbrok, Ivar the Boneless, Bjorn Ironside. Yet, beneath their conquests lay a society bound by intricate threads of loyalty, obligation, and retribution. A man's worth was measured not in gold alone, but in his fidelity to oaths sworn before gods and kin. To betray one's lord or break a sacred vow was to unravel the very fabric of Norse life, inviting chaos into a world already teetering on the edge of survival. In this unforgiving landscape, the blood eagle emerged as the ultimate sanction. It was not a punishment meted out lightly, reserved instead for crimes that struck at the heart of Viking values: treason, oath-breaking, or cowardice that endangered the clan. The ritual was a public declaration, a warning etched in flesh and bone. That betrayal would be met with a fate so horrific it would haunt generations. The blood eagle was not random violence, but a calculated act, blending justice with divine offering, performed with the precision of a sacred rite. Second, the ritual unveiled, a dance of death. Imagine a windswept hill in a Norse settlement, the air thick with the scent of pine and salt. A crowd gathers, warriors, women, children, their faces grim, their eyes fixed on a wooden platform where a condemned man lies bound. His name is Halfdan, a warrior accused of slaying his jarl, Ragnvald, in a cowardly ambush. The executioner, a figure cloaked in ritual authority, steps forward, his hands steady, his tools gleaming under the pale northern sun. This is the blood eagle, and its performance is as much theater as torment. The victim is secured face down, arms and legs lashed to the platform to ensure stillness. The executioner, likely a priest or elder trained in the ritual's demands, begins with precise incisions along the spine. Using a specialized knife, he severs the ribs from their vertebral attachments, each cut a testament to his anatomical knowledge. The crowd watches in silence, some in awe, others in horror, as the ribs are bent outward, cracking like dry branches to form the silhouette of wings. The lungs, delicate and pulsing, are carefully extracted and draped over the victim's shoulders, completing the grotesque eagle that gives the ritual its name. The process is slow, deliberate. The victim, if strong, remains conscious, his gasps and cries a grim counterpoint to the executioner's methodical work. Salt, some say, is rubbed into the wounds, not out of cruelty alone, but to preserve the flesh and intensify the agony, ensuring the ritual's message is seared into the minds of all who witness it. The body, once a man, is transformed into a sacred offering to Odin, the All-Father, whose ravens and eagles symbolize his watchful presence. The blood eagle is complete when the victim's life fades, his corpse left displayed as a monument to justice and divine will. Third, the gods demand Odin's shadow. To understand the blood eagle, one must look to the Norse cosmos, where gods and mortals were bound by a delicate balance of honor and sacrifice. Odin, the one-eyed god of war, wisdom, and death, loomed large over Viking life. His sacred birds, ravens, and eagles were not mere creatures, but emissaries of his will, carrying the souls of the worthy to Valhalla. The blood eagle, with its visceral imagery, was a tribute to Odin, transforming a traitor's body into a living altar. By crafting the victim's ribs and lungs into the shape of an eagle, the Vikings believed they were offering the ultimate sacrifice, restoring order to a world disrupted by betrayal. This religious dimension elevated the blood eagle beyond mere punishment. It was a sacred act, a dialogue with the divine. The victim, often a figure of high status, whose crimes carried communal weight, was not simply killed, but transfigured. His suffering was a test, his silence, if he could muster it, a final chance to reclaim a shred of honor. The saga of Ragnar Lothbrok tells of King Ella of Northumbria, who, in 867 AD, met this fate at the hands of Ragnar's sons. Ella, accused of killing Ragnar by treachery, was carved into an eagle as poetic justice, his defiance crumbling under the weight of his torment. The saga's vivid account, though written centuries later, underscores the ritual's role as both punishment and divine offering. Avor, a theater of justice, social and psychological impact. The blood eagle was not a private affair, but a public spectacle, staged in communal spaces during gatherings of religious or political significance. The audience, comprising kin, allies, and enemies, was as much a part of the ritual as the victim. The executioner's precision, the victim's suffering, and the final grotesque display were choreographed to maximize impact. For the community, the blood eagle reinforced the sanctity of loyalty, making betrayal unthinkable. For enemies, it was a warning: defy the Vikings and face a fate worse than death. The psychological power of the blood eagle lay in its calculated horror. The prolonged nature of the ritual, sometimes lasting hours, forced witnesses to confront the victim's agony, etching the consequences of disloyalty into their minds. The image of ribs spread like wings, lungs draped like feathers, was a haunting fusion of the human and the monstrous, impossible to forget. Chronicles suggest that mere threats of the blood eagle could compel surrender, as its reputation spread through terrified whispers across Europe. The ritual also served as collective punishment. The victim's disgrace extended to their family and allies, pressuring communities to police their own to avoid such a fate. In the Orkneyinga saga, Einar, avenging his father Ragnvald, performed the blood eagle on Halfdan Longleg, son of King Harald Fairhair. The act was not just personal vengeance, but a political statement, asserting Einar's independence from royal authority. The public nature of the execution ensured that its message resonated far beyond the immediate audience, shaping behavior through fear and awe. The executioner's craft, medical precision. The blood eagle demanded more than brute strength. It required a mastery of anatomy that bordered on the surgical. The executioner needed to know the spine structure, the placement of major arteries, and the delicate connections of the lungs to avoid premature death. A single misstep, a cut too deep, a vessel severed, could end the ritual abruptly, undermining its symbolic purpose. Specialized tools, perhaps knives honed for precision or axes designed for leverage, were likely used to sever the ribs and spread them outward, a task requiring both skill and strength. Medical analysis suggests the victim's survival depended on the executioner's expertise and the victim's physical condition. Younger, healthier individuals might endure longer, their bodies releasing endorphins to dull the pain temporarily. The horizontal positioning of the victim, face down on a platform, helped maintain blood pressure to the brain, prolonging consciousness. Salt, applied to the wounds, served dual purposes. It preserved the flesh, preventing infection, and intensified the pain, ensuring the victim's suffering was both visible and prolonged. The extraction of the lungs was the ritual's most technically challenging act. The lungs, tethered by blood vessels and connective tissue, had to be carefully severed and positioned without collapsing entirely. The resulting image, lungs draped over shoulders like feathers, was not only symbolic, but may have hastened death by compressing functional lung tissue. A grim mercy once the ritual's requirements were met. This blend of anatomical knowledge and ritual precision underscores the Vikings' sophistication, challenging stereotypes of them as mindless barbarians. 6. Echoes of the past, archaeological and textual evidence. The Blood Eagle's historical reality is a subject of fierce debate. For centuries, historians dismissed it as a literary flourish, a product of medieval sagas crafted to glorify Viking heroes or demonize their enemies. The saga of Ragnar Lothbrok and Orkneyinga saga, written long after the events they describe, are vivid but unreliable, shaped by Christian authors and oral traditions. Yet, recent archaeological discoveries have forced a reevaluation. At Repton, England, a mass grave from 873-874 AD revealed skeletons with severed ribs and manipulated torsos, injuries inconsistent with typical battle wounds. Similar findings at Denmark's Trelleborg Fortress show deliberate post-mortem staging, suggesting ritualized violence. These discoveries, while compelling, are not conclusive. Rib fractures could result from combat or other rituals, and environmental factors might mimic post-mortem manipulation. Forensic archaeology, using computer modeling and DNA analysis, offers new insights, but definitive proof remains elusive. The Blood Eagle fits within a broader pattern of pre-Christian violence, as seen in Northern Europe's bog bodies, which show evidence of elaborate killing rituals combining hanging, stabbing, and throat cutting. These parallels suggest the Blood Eagle was part of a shared Indo-European tradition of sacred violence, adapted by the Vikings to their unique cultural context. 7. A wider world, cross-cultural parallels. The Blood Eagle was not an isolated phenomenon, but part of a tapestry of ritualized execution across medieval Europe. Celtic Druids practiced human sacrifice. Germanic tribes hung victims from sacred trees, and Byzantine tortures like blinding served similar functions of intimidation and social control. Roman accounts, such as Tacitus's descriptions of Druidic rituals, highlight the blending of violence and spirituality, a pattern echoed in the Blood Eagle. Islamic chroniclers, encountering Vikings through trade and raids, noted their ritualistic brutality, perceiving it as a coherent cultural system rather than random savagery. These parallels reveal the blood eagle as an extreme expression of a widespread medieval principle. Punishment must match the crime's severity. In Norse society, where honor was paramount, betrayal warranted the ultimate sanction. The ritual's decline coincided with the Christianization of Scandinavia in the late 10th and early 11th centuries, as Christian legal traditions replaced pagan rites. Yet Christian Europe adopted its own brutal practices, burning heretics, torturing during the Inquisition, suggesting a continuity of symbolic violence under a new religious guise. 8. From ritual to legend, the blood eagle's legacy. As the Viking Age waned, the blood eagle faded from practice but grew in legend. Sagas, written by Christian scribes, transformed it into a symbol of Norse savagery, emphasizing its horror to contrast with Christian virtues. Renaissance and early modern writers, rediscovering these accounts, stripped away the ritual's context, reducing it to evidence of pre-Christian barbarity. Today, the blood eagle looms large in popular culture, appearing in novels, films, and shows like Vikings, where its graphic nature overshadows its cultural significance. This decontextualization has shaped modern perceptions, casting Vikings as mindless brutes rather than a society with complex values. Yet the blood eagle's true power lies in what it reveals about the Viking psyche, a world where honor was worth more than life, where gods demanded blood, and where fear was a tool of governance. Scholarly debates continue, with some historians arguing for its historical reality and others seeing it as literary fiction. Advances in forensic archaeology may yet tip the balance, but the ritual's ambiguity only deepens its allure. 9. Reflections on violence and justice. The blood eagle forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about human nature. Its brutality, while shocking, was not unique. It reflects a universal impulse to use violence to maintain order and assert authority. Modern audiences, distanced by time, struggle to grasp its cultural logic, yet it mirrors contemporary debates about justice and retribution. Was the blood eagle sadistic cruelty, or a necessary act in a world where betrayal could destroy communities? The answer lies in its dual nature, a punishment rooted in the Vikings' unyielding code, yet a spectacle that transcends its time, haunting us with its blend of horror and meaning. The ritual's psychological sophistication, its use of fear, shame, and divine symbolism, reveals a society that understood power in ways both visceral and profound. By transforming the human body into a grotesque offering, the Vikings created a legacy that endures not just in bones and sagas, but in the questions it raises about the boundaries of justice and the cost of loyalty. Epilogue. The shadow endures in the twilight of a Norse winter. As snow dusts the hills where the blood eagle once unfolded, its shadow lingers. The sagas are silent now, their pages worn by time. But the ritual's echo persists in the stories we tell, of heroes and traitors, gods and monsters. The blood eagle was more than an execution. It was a testament to a world where honor was carved in blood, where the gods watched every oath, and where fear was as sharp as any blade. As we peer into the Viking past, we see not just brutality, but a people who wove their values into every act, even the most horrific. The blood eagle, real or legend, remains a chilling reminder. In a world ruled by loyalty, the price of betrayal is eternal.